What is your title at Privateer Press?
I'm the owner and creative director.
Okay, cool. Now, obviously, Monsterpocalypse is a big part of the show for you this year. How is Monsterpocalypse doing in the year? How has it done for you in the past year? What were your expectations, and how is it doing in comparison to that?
It's doing fantastic. We didn't have a lot of expectations. We had hopes, and we've, I would say, exceeded what we had hoped to achieve with it. The game's going great. We just brought out the third series, All Your Base, in July, and then Series 4. Monsterpocalypse now is coming in October, so it keeps going. And then we managed to negotiate the Voltron license this past year, and so we've got a boxed game of Voltron that'll be coming out in the spring.
So that will be a boxed game?
Yeah, it'll be an all-inclusive boxed game, ready to play, out of the box, everything you need to play. But what's great about it is that you'll be able to use all that stuff in your regular Monsterpocalypse games as well. So when you want to take Voltron up against Gorgadra, you're ready to go.
Cool. Now, how have you seen player counts from set 1 to set 3? With a new game, this thing came out of the gates of gangbusters. Now, is it taken off from there? Is it leveled off? Or have you seen kind of new players coming in to replace players who maybe didn't stick with the game?
It's hard to say because, we don't have necessarily direct contact with each of those players. The way we measure it is by starter sets, right? And the starter sets continue to go. We continue to reprint them and keep them in stock. At a certain point in the year, we produced enough of them to try and carry us through the year, because every third series we do a new starter. So Series 4 gives us new starters. We've produced a certain amount of those to expect to carry us through the rest of the year, and we continue to acquire new players. The events continue to get bigger and bigger. We have a great electronic web-based event registration site, and we see all kinds of turnover over that. Our redemptions, we do lots of redemption programs where you send in the box tops and you get a free figure. Those continue to rise. So I would say overall we're looking at a constantly rising level of players in the game. Yeah.
Now, set 4, you say that's a reset of the game. Not a reset. That's not. What would you consider? What do you call set 4? What do you call it? Obviously you're launching 6 new factions.
Right. So what we're doing is we're producing the game in cycles. Every 3 sets would be 1 cycle, and that's not an official term. I'm just kind of throwing that out there as the word. But in set 1 we released 6 factions, and set 2 and set 3 expanded upon those factions. What set 4 does is it gives us 6 brand new factions that all work within the same agendas that we established in the beginning of the game. So your Empire of the Apes, for example, are radicals, and they'll work alongside the pterosaurs as radicals
I was hoping that
later
was the
on.
case.
So it's not a reset. We're not changing any rules. We are expanding. There's some new abilities that are unique to the new factions that are coming out. But
anything you can tell us anything you can tell us?
I'm not the guy, unfortunately.
Okay.
I wish Eric Yapel was here, because he could tell you the exact specifics of it. Yeah.
Now, the Morphers, that was released in set 3.
Correct.
Now, is the Morpher going to be set 3 for the next cycle, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be following approximately the same pattern. We did make a little bit of a tweak to Series 5, where we added in some pretty neat things. I don't want to give too much away, but basically we're doing some civilian vehicles that can be used by anybody that will show up in Series 5.
Okay. So now, when you say set 5, that actually goes to a question I was going to ask. How far in advance do you work? When the game came out a year ago,
Yep.
How far were you planned out?
Well, to give you an idea, right now we're working on Series 9.
Okay. So now Series 4 is obviously in manufacturing in some level, and you'll tell us when it's ready for.
It's going on a boat. It's on a boat right now.
Okay.
So yeah, it's on its way over. Series 5 is actually in production right now, getting ready to be produced alongside the Voltron stuff. So Voltron and Series 5 will both come out next spring. And then Series 6 is sculpted and awaiting the tooling phase, we call it.
Because people will come out and they'll say something like, how did that work, or how did that happen?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you don't know what people are going to react to.
Yeah, and so, in a sense, there's a little bit of a guessing game that has to go there, and we adjust along the way if we see something that isn't working for people. We want the players to be happy and having a good time with the product. So
if you saw something wasn't working now, it would take you about a cycle to bulk it up?
Not necessarily. For instance, some of the additional things that we put in Series 5 were in response to what we saw with Series 2. Series 2, the set was, I think, unexpectedly small by comparison to Series 1, and I think that, or in analysis of that, we thought people wanted a little bit more in that set, and so we added a little bit more into it before it went into the tooling cycle.
Now, this is something, and it's a question that people ask, and I don't want you to think that I'm asking because I think it's the case, but the two words that everyone in the collectible minis game dreads is power creep. I know you've said in the past that that's not a situation, it's not really an issue. How do you keep doing different things without making the new stuff better, or I mean, it needs to be different than the original, but it can't outlast it because then people feel that, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. We designed Monsterpocalypse with exactly that in mind so that we wouldn't end up having an issue there.
Okay.
So the way Monsterpocalypse works is we have all of this vast menu of abilities. Those abilities exist, and what we're able to do is rearrange those in different combinations to give you a different type of monster, or a unique set of combinations on a figure that means we don't have to make things more powerful to be more compelling, right?
Okay.
They can just be different orders or different combinations of things are going to give you an entirely new kind of play experience. Introducing different abilities that didn't exist, say, in an agenda at one time, bringing those in now, that doesn't creep the power up. It doesn't invalidate anything that came before that. It just gives you more options, right? And that's something that we have that we've practiced for a long time in our other games, in War Machine and in Hordes, is we don't pile power on top of power on top of power in order to make it different. What we do is provide more options, and so we just extend the depth of the game and the number of things that you can do. That's what brings the originality to each new set.
Now, obviously, the Voltron, that's got to be a big feather in your hat. Which
Sure.
came first? The idea that you were going after Voltron or the Morphers? Did you get the Morphers and say, man, that would be great for Voltron? Or did you start talking to Voltron and go, oh, we need something to do?
Well,